Pulse erupted from the forest vessel like a silent sunrise. Light spread across the sky in waves of brilliant blue and green, creating auroras that could be seen from Sol. Every Union ship in orbit lost power simultaneously. Their communications went dark. Their weapons systems shut down. For 20 minutes, Earth's sky belonged to humanity alone. In the central chamber, Dr. Bora watched the pulse spread through monitors that showed the ship's final moments. The ancient technology was burning itself out, converting stored energy into the electromagnetic wave. She felt the vessel shaking around her as systems overloaded and failed. Millennia of preserved knowledge was turning to ash, but it did not matter. The truth was more important than artifacts. Union forces breached the ship's hull just as the pulse reached its peak. They found Bora standing calmly at the controls, her hand still on the activation panel. Ambassador Velthar pushed through his soldiers, his reptilian face twisted with rage. "What have you done?" Bora smiled at him. "I have given humanity a chance. Something you tried to take from us." She touched a final control and the ship's self-destruct sequence activated. "You should leave now. You have about 30 seconds. Velthar's eyes widened. He barked orders and his forces scrambled to evacuate. But Bora stayed where she was, watching the countdown. She thought about all the discoveries she had made in her life, all the wonders of the natural world she had documented. This final act felt right. It felt complete. Her last words transmitted to Timon before the explosion were simple. Tell them the truth. Tell them what humans can be. The vessel collapsed in on itself, taking with it thousands of years of history. But the pulse had already done its work. In those 20 minutes of disrupted communications, the broadcast went out. Jehun had prepared it perfectly. The message transmitted across every frequency, every channel to every inhabited world in the galaxy. Billions of beings from hundreds of species saw it simultaneously. They saw the Architect's message about humanity's origin. They saw proof of the Preservation Council's conspiracy. They watched documentation of the deaths they had ordered, including Hana's murder on Mars. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Some species were outraged at the Council's deception. Others were terrified of the Devourers. Many were simply shocked to learn their true origins. But everyone was talking about it. The secret was out and there was no way to put it back. Within hours, 3 Union species formally demanded the dissolution of the Preservation Council. Within a day, it was 12 species. Within a week, the Council members were under arrest, facing a galactic tribunal. The Union government, desperate to maintain legitimacy, agreed to a full investigation. The trial lasted 3 months. Sun He served as Earth's representative, presenting evidence with calm precision. Hana's data from Mars was particularly damning, showing Council members explicitly ordering her death. Ambassador Velthar tried to justify the actions as necessary for galactic stability, but his words rang hollow against the weight of evidence. The verdict was unanimous. The Preservation Council was dissolved. Its members were stripped of power and exiled to isolated colony worlds. The Galactic Union formally apologized to humanity and recognized them as full members with equal status. The age of Earth being treated as a newcomer to be managed was over. But the bigger question remained. What would humanity do with their new status? The Union offered access to all suppressed architect sites. They offered technology, knowledge, the chance to leap forward centuries in development. It was tempting. It was everything humanity had dreamed of since first contact. But Yiseo posed a question that made them pause. The architects failed because they overspecialized, she said at a global assembly gathered to decide Earth's future. Each species they created was perfect at one thing, but limited in everything else. Humanity's strength has always been adaptability, the ability to grow through struggle. If you simply take all this ancient technology, you might lose what makes you special. The debate was fierce. Some argued for taking everything they could get. Others warned against becoming dependent on alien knowledge. Finally, a compromise was reached. Humanity would study the architect sites, but they would not simply copy the technology. They would learn the principles and develop their own solutions, maintaining the creative problem-solving that made humans unique. The Architect Heritage Foundation was established as a joint human union organization. Its purpose was to study precursor sites and prepare for the Devourers. Yiseo became its director, her 50,000-year perspective making her uniquely qualified. Taemin accepted the position of field director, leading expeditions to find other hidden sites. His first mission was personal. He traveled to Mars to the mining facility where Hana had died. Using Yiseo's knowledge and Hana's data, they found the architect chamber she had discovered. It was smaller than the forest vessel, but it contained something precious. Hana's final research notes preserved in an emergency backup she had hidden. Reading her words, Taemin felt both grief and pride. She had known she was in danger. She had known the council might come for her. But she had continued her work anyway, driven by curiosity and the belief that humanity deserved to know the truth. She had been brave until the very end. The Foundation grew quickly. Humans and Union members worked together, united by a common purpose. They found 17 more Keeper vessels hidden across the galaxy, though all the other Keepers had been destroyed centuries ago. Yiseo was alone, the last of her kind, but she bore it with grace. Preparations for the Devourers became the galaxy's primary focus. Every species contributed what they did best. The Tyranni provided philosophical frameworks for understanding the enemy. The Vrish developed strategies. The Lumini created new energy weapons. And humans? Humans did what they always did. They improvised, innovated, and refused to accept that any problem was unsolvable. 2 years after the broadcast, long-range sensors detected something at the edge of the galaxy. The readings matched the architect's descriptions of the Devourers. They were still decades away, but they were coming. The galaxy had time to prepare, but not much. Taemin stood in a forest on a colony world at the edge of Union space, investigating another electromagnetic anomaly. Beside him was Yunji. Their relationship had grown from professional respect to something deeper. She was his partner in every sense now, sharing his work and his life. "Do you think we will find anything here?" she asked, her scanner beeping softly. Taemin looked at the ancient trees around them, so similar to the forest where everything had started. He thought about Dr. Bora's sacrifice, about Hana's courage, about all the humans and aliens working together to face an impossible threat. He thought about the architect's gamble, leaving humanity to develop naturally in the hope that chaos and creativity would be enough. "Does it matter?" he said with a smile. "We have already found what the architects really left us. Not technology or knowledge, but the understanding that we are exactly who we need to be. Humanity does not win by being the strongest or the smartest. We win by refusing to give up, by adapting to whatever comes, and by being too stubborn to accept defeat." Yunji laughed and took his hand. "That sounds about right." They walked deeper into the alien forest, their scanners searching for secrets. Above them, human and Union ships patrolled together, watching for threats. Behind them, the Architect Heritage Foundation coordinated efforts across 1,000 worlds. And far ahead, in the darkness between galaxies, the Devourers approached. But humanity was ready, not because they were perfect, but because they were adaptable. Not because they had all the answers, but because they were willing to keep asking questions. The architects had created specialists across the galaxy, each species designed for a specific role. But they had left Earth alone, letting humans develop into something no one could have predicted. Generalists, survivors, the galaxy's last, best hope. Taemin squeezed Yunji's hand and smiled. Whatever came next, whatever challenges the universe threw at them, humanity would face it the way they always had, together with creativity and courage, refusing to surrender even when victory seemed impossible. In a forest on a distant world, 2 humans searched for ancient secrets, carrying the torch of human determination into an uncertain future. And somewhere, in whatever place the architects had fled to, perhaps they were watching and hoping that their experiment had finally succeeded. The Devourers were coming, but so was humanity. And the galaxy was about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous thing in the universe was not the biggest threat or the strongest power. Sometimes the most dangerous thing was a species that simply refused to quit, no matter what stood in their way. That was humanity's gift to the galaxy. That was what the architects had hoped for. And that was what would make all the difference when the real fight began. The story was just beginning. Earth's government was falling apart. President Kyung-suk called an emergency session. But the council could not agree on anything. Half wanted to cooperate with the Union, fearing trade sanctions and technological isolation. The other half wanted to stand firm, inspired by the leaked information that was already spreading through human colonies on Mars and the Moon. "We cannot win a fight against the Galactic Union," the defense minister argued. "They have ships that make our entire fleet look like toys. They could blockade Earth and starve us into submission. But we cannot ignore the truth either," the science minister countered. "They killed our people. They have been controlling us since first contact. How long before they decide humanity is too much trouble and eliminate us completely? The argument went in circles while the Union fleet in orbit grew larger. More ships arrived every hour. The message was clear: cooperate or face consequences. In the forest, Taemin and his team were trapped. Union forces had surrounded the site, preventing anyone from leaving. But Yiseo seemed calm, almost amused by the situation. "They are making a mistake," she said. "They are so focused on containing this site that they are not thinking about what you might have already done." She was right. The copies of the data were already spreading. Jae-hoon had shared portions with trusted journalists on 3 continents. Sun-hee had distributed information through military channels, reaching sympathetic officers who were angry about the deaths of human personnel. The truth was leaking out like water through a cracked dam. But leaking was not enough. They needed a flood. Yiseo had spent the night accessing the ship's systems, her keeper knowledge allowing her to unlock functions that had been dormant for millennia. "This vessel is not just a message container," she explained. "It is a node in a network. There are 37 other architect sites hidden on Earth. If we activate them, humanity will have access to technology that would put you on equal footing with the Union." "What is the catch?" Daesung asked. He had learned that nothing was ever simple. "The activation will send a signal that can be detected across the galaxy," Yiseo said, "including by the Devourers. It might draw them here sooner." The weight of that statement settled over the room. They could gain incredible power, but at the cost of attracting an enemy that had driven the architects from the galaxy. It was a decision that affected not just humanity, but every living being in the galaxy. "There is something else," Yiseo continued. "The ship chose you, Taemin. It revealed itself when you approached because you carried genetic markers from the original human population the architects sampled. You are as close to their baseline as anyone alive today. In a sense, you are what they designed humanity to be." Taemin stared at her. "That does not make me special. I am just a researcher who happened to be in the right place." "No," Yiseo said gently. "Your sister carried the same markers. That is why she was drawn to the architect site on Mars. It called to her just as this ship called to you. The architects built their technology to recognize their children." The grief hit Taemin again, fresh and sharp. Hana had been murdered for following her instincts, for being curious about something that sang to her blood. The Preservation Council had killed her for being exactly what the architects had hoped humanity would be. Before he could respond, Sun-hee contacted them through an encrypted channel. "I have news. Not everyone in the Union supports the Preservation Council. I have been contacted by representatives from 3 species, the Turani, the Vrish, and the Nalium. They are younger Union members, discovered by the older species rather than being founding members. They feel the Council's control, too. Can we trust them?" Dr. Bora asked. "They have offered to help," Sun-hee said. "They have been secretly preserving some architect findings over the centuries. They suspected the truth but had no proof. Until now. They want to meet with you." The meeting happened through secure quantum communication, impossible for the Union to intercept. The Turani representative appeared first, her aquatic form floating in a tank of water. "We have waited centuries for this moment," she said, her voice musical. "The Council has suppressed not just human knowledge, but ours as well. They fear change." The Vrish delegate was a cluster of insectoid beings that moved as one, their collective consciousness speaking through hundreds of small voices. "We offer strategic support. The Council has weaknesses. We know them." The Nelum appeared as a cloud of glowing particles, their gaseous form shimmering with thought. "We control some communication networks. We can help spread the truth beyond what the Council can contain." Together they formed a plan. Jae-hoon would prepare a galaxy-wide broadcast, containing all the evidence, the architect's message, proof of the Preservation Council's crimes, the documentation of human deaths, and Hana's recovered data from Mars. But to transmit it across the Union's network, they needed to get past the communications blockade around Earth. Daesung studied the problem for hours before finding an answer. The forest ship had enough stored energy to create a massive electromagnetic pulse. It would temporarily disable all Union ships in the area, giving them a window to broadcast. "But it will destroy the ship," he warned. "All this ancient technology gone forever." Yiseo did not hesitate. The architects did not leave these vessels to be museums. They left them to be used when necessary. This is that moment. Humanity needs the truth more than they need ancient artifacts. They had the plan. They had the allies. They had the data. But there was one problem. Hyunwoo. Taemin had noticed the xenoarchaeologist acting strangely. He was taking too long on simple tasks, asking odd questions about their plans. When Taemin confronted him, Hyunwoo broke down. "I am sorry," he said, tears streaming down his face. "The Union approached me months ago. They offered me access to architect sites, promised me discoveries that would make me famous. All I had to do was report on human activities around potential architect locations." "You are a spy," Yoonji said flatly. "I did not know they were killing people," Hyunwoo insisted. "I just thought I was helping prevent dangerous situations. But then I saw the data, learned what they did to Hana, and I realized I was working for murderers." "Did you tell them about our plan?" Taemin asked, his voice dangerous. "No," Hyunwoo said quickly. "I have not reported anything for 2 days. I could not. But they know something is wrong. They are demanding updates." Daesung grabbed Hyunwoo by the collar. "You have put us all at risk. You have betrayed your own species." "I know," Hyunwoo whispered. "I know. And I will spend the rest of my life trying to make up for it. Let me help now. Let me do something right." They had to make a decision quickly. Outside, the Union forces were getting impatient. Ambassador Velthar sent another message. "You have 1 hour to surrender, or we will take the ship by force." "We do not have enough time to charge the pulse," Daesung said. "It needs at least 3 hours. We will never make it. Unless someone bought them that time. Someone had to stay behind and stall the Union forces while the others escaped with Yiseo and prepared for the broadcast." "I will do it," Dr. Bora said immediately. "I am the senior scientist here. It is my responsibility." "No," Hyunwoo said. "Let me. I am the one who betrayed you. I should be the one to make the sacrifice." But Dr. Bora shook her head. "You made mistakes, but you can still help humanity recover from this." "I cannot," she smiled sadly. "I used to work for the Union's research division decades ago. I saw how they buried discoveries that did not fit their narrative. I left because I could not accept it anymore. But I never spoke up. I never fought back. I let them continue their lies because I was afraid." She looked at each of them in turn. "I will not be afraid anymore. Get Yiseo to safety. Prepare the broadcast. Tell the galaxy the truth. I will make sure you have the time you need." Taemin wanted to argue, but he saw the determination in her eyes. This was not just about buying time. This was about Bora finally standing up for what she believed in, no matter the cost. They left through a hidden maintenance tunnel that Yiseo knew about. The last thing Taemin saw was Dr. Bora standing in the central chamber, her hand on the pulse activation controls, watching them go with a peaceful expression. Above ground, Union forces began their assault on the ship, and deep in the forest the ancient vessel started to wake up, its final purpose about to be fulfilled. Taemin did not wait for permission. While the others slept, he copied every piece of data from the core onto multiple storage devices, small encrypted drives that could fit in his pocket. He made 7 copies in total. If the Union wanted to bury this information, they would have to find every single one. The first copy went to Jae-hoon, an investigative journalist who had exposed 3 major corporate corruption scandals in the past 2 years. Taemin sent it through an encrypted channel with a simple message. "The truth about humanity's origin. Publish only if I disappear." The second went to Sun Hee, a woman who used to work in intelligence before transferring to Earth's space defense program. She would know what to do with it. He distributed the other copies to various locations across the solar system. One went to a data vault on the moon, another to a research station on Mars hidden in a package addressed to one of Hana's old colleagues. The rest went to trusted friends in different countries. If the Union tried to silence him, the truth would still survive. By morning he felt exhausted but calmer. Whatever happened now, the secret was safe. The Union delegation arrived exactly on schedule. 3 ships descended through Earth's atmosphere, their white hulls gleaming in the sunlight. They landed in a clearing 2 kilometers from the forest site. Taemin watched them through binoculars, his heart pounding. Dr. Bora stood beside him, her face unreadable. "They are sending a ground team," she said quietly. 12 individuals. Mixed species. Ambassador Velthar led the group. He was Salen, a reptilian species known for their diplomatic skills. His scales were deep green and his eyes were sharp and intelligent. Beside him walked Orphix, a lumini whose crystalline body refracted light into rainbow patterns. Behind them came scientists, guards, and technical specialists. "Dr. Bora," Velthar said warmly as they approached. His translator device converted his hissing speech into perfect Korean. "How wonderful to finally meet you in person. Your research on Earth's ecosystems has been fascinating to follow." Bora bowed slightly. "Ambassador, we are honored by your visit, though I wish it were under better circumstances." "Indeed." Velthar's eyes moved past her to the ship half buried in the forest. "This is quite a discovery. We must ensure it is handled properly. Such artifacts can be dangerous if misunderstood." The way he said dangerous made Taymin's skin crawl. Velthar was being polite, but there was steel underneath his words. This was not a request for cooperation. It was an order. Dr. Bora followed official protocols and agreed to give them full access to the site. But as the Union team began their inspection, she pulled Taymin aside. "Something is wrong," she whispered. "They are not surprised. Look at them. They are going through the motions of examining the ship, but they already know what it is. They knew before they got here." She was right. The Union scientists moved with purpose, heading straight for the important systems without any hesitation. They knew exactly where to look. This was not a discovery for them. This was damage control. While the official delegation worked, Taymin received a response from Jae-hoon. The journalist had been busy. He had used his network of sources to dig into Union records, looking for any mention of similar discoveries. What he found was damning. The Union had discovered at least 30 architect ships across the galaxy over the past 400 years. Every single time the find had been classified as a galactic security matter. Human researchers had been specifically excluded from these sites. Any data that mentioned the architects had been scrubbed from public databases. But Jae-hoon had found more than just records of suppression. He had found patterns. 17 human explorers and scientists had died in accidents over the past 5 years. All of them had been investigating anomalies that matched architect technology signatures. All of them had died in ways that looked natural. Equipment failures, ship malfunctions, exposure to toxic environments. Hana was number 14 on the list. Sun-hee sent her own findings an hour later. Through her intelligence contacts, she had discovered something even more disturbing. There was a faction within the Union government called the Preservation Council. Their official purpose was to maintain galactic stability. Their actual purpose was to control the flow of information and suppress anything that might threaten the Union's power structure. The Council believed that humanity was dangerous. Humans were unpredictable, aggressive, and innovative in ways that made the older species nervous. The Council had been working to limit human expansion and influence since first contact. The accidents were their doing. Taymin read Sun-hee's report 3 times, his anger growing with each pass. His sister had been murdered. Not by random chance, not by simple bad luck, but by a deliberate conspiracy to keep humanity ignorant and controlled. While he was processing this, Yoonji made a discovery inside the ship. The stasis pod in the central chamber was not empty. Her scanner showed life signs inside, weak but present. "There is someone in there," she said, her voice shaking. "They are still alive after all this time." Dae-sung examined the pod's systems. "I can open it safely," he said after an hour of study. "The stasis field is stable. But once we open it, we cannot close it again. Whoever is inside will wake up." Dr. Bora hesitated. "We should wait. Get authorization from Earth's government. This is too important to rush." But Taymin had had enough of waiting, enough of asking permission from authorities who might be compromised. "Open it," he said. "We need answers, and whoever built this ship might be the only one who can give them to us." Yoonji and Hyunwoo objected, but Dae-sung saw the determination in Taymin's eyes. "All right," the engineer said. "But if this goes wrong, it is on both of us." They waited until night when the Union delegation had returned to their ships. The 4 of them stood around the pod as Dae-sung initiated the opening sequence. There was a hiss of air, and frost formed on the pod's surface as the temperature equalized. The lid slowly rose. Inside was a woman. She looked completely human, with black hair and East Asian features. She could have been Korean. She wore clothes made from material that shimmered like liquid metal. Her eyes opened slowly, focusing on them with confusion. "Where am I?" she asked in perfect ancient Korean. Then she saw their faces and smiled. "You are human, it worked. The plan actually worked." She sat up carefully, her movement stiff after thousands of years in stasis. My name is Yisio. I am a keeper, created by the architects to wait for humanity to reach the stars. I have been asleep for 50,000 years. The room fell silent. Yisio looked around the chamber, seeing how much had changed and how much had stayed the same. You found the message, she said. You know the truth about your origins. That means you are ready. But judging by your expressions, you have also discovered that others do not want you to know. The Galactic Union has been hiding the architects from us, Timon said. They killed my sister to keep the secret. Yiseo's face hardened. Yes, that sounds like them. The architects created keepers for several species, not just humans. We were made from the DNA of the most promising races, given enhanced lifespans and the knowledge of our creators. We were meant to guide our people when they were ready. But the Union found the other keepers centuries ago and destroyed them. I am the only one left because this ship remained hidden until now. Why? Yunji asked. Why would they do that? Because the architect's truth is dangerous to the Union's power structure, Yiseo explained. If everyone knew that they were created for a specific purpose, that humanity was designed to be the most adaptable species, it would change everything. The older species have built their authority on being superior. Learning that they were artificially limited while humans were left free would make them question everything. Outside, alarms started blaring. Timon rushed to the window and saw lights moving through the forest. Union forces converging on their position. They had detected the pod opening. Ambassador Velthar's voice came over the communicator, all pretense of politeness gone. You have violated galactic law by activating unauthorized ancient technology. Surrender the Keeper and all data immediately, or Earth will face severe consequences. Yisio stood beside Timon, looking out at the approaching forces. They will take me, study me, and then dispose of me quietly. They will classify all your data and threaten your world into silence. That is what they do. What choice do we have? Dr. Bora asked. Earth's government will not protect us. They will hand us over to maintain peace with the Union. Then we do not give them a choice, Timon said. We make the truth public before they can stop us. Yiseo smiled. Now you sound like a human. Welcome to the galaxy's most dangerous trait, refusing to accept impossible situations. The forest was older than most cities on Earth. Timon walked carefully through the undergrowth, his scanner beeping softly in his hand. He had been tracking strange electromagnetic readings for 3 days now, moving deeper into a valley that most people had forgotten existed. The trees here were massive, their trunks wider than his apartment back in Seoul. Moss covered everything like a thick green blanket. Timon was an ecological researcher. His job was simple: document old forests, measure their health, and make sure they stayed protected. It was quiet work, and he liked it that way. After what happened to his sister Hana 3 years ago, he needed the quiet. The Mars mining accident had taken her from him, and he still felt the emptiness every single day. The scanner beeped louder. Timon stopped and checked the screen. The electromagnetic signature was stronger here, much stronger than anything natural. He pushed through a thick patch of ferns and stopped dead in his tracks. There was something huge embedded in the forest floor ahead of him. At first he thought it was a rock formation, but rocks did not have straight edges. Rocks did not have geometric patterns etched into their surfaces. As he moved closer, his breath caught in his throat. It was a spacecraft, or at least it had been once. Now it was part of the forest itself. Massive trees grew through its hull, their roots wrapped around the alien metal like fingers. The entire structure was covered in moss so thick that Timon could barely make out the original surface. He reached out and touched it, half expecting it to be cold, but it was warm. Not hot, just pleasantly warm, like something alive. His hands were shaking as he pulled out his camera and started taking pictures. This was not supposed to be here. Earth had only made contact with aliens 5 years ago, and all their ships looked completely different from this. The Galactic Union vessels were smooth and white, shaped like teardrops. This thing was angular, crystalline, and looked like it had been here for thousands of years. Timon called his supervisor immediately. Dr. Bora answered on the second ring, her face appearing on his communicator screen. She was in her lab in Seoul, surrounded by plant samples and data screens. Timon, this better be important. I'm in the middle of analyzing soil samples from... I found a ship, he interrupted. An alien ship in the forest. It is old, really old. And it does not match anything we have seen before. Bora's expression changed from annoyed to intensely focused. Send me the pictures. Right now. Taman sent the files and watched her face as she scrolled through them. Her eyes grew wider with each image. Do not touch anything else, she said firmly. I am sending a team. Give me your exact coordinates. The team arrived the next morning. Hyunwoo was young, maybe 25, with the eager energy of someone who had dreamed of making a huge discovery his whole life. He was a xenoarchaeologist, someone who studied ancient alien cultures. He practically ran to the ship when he saw it. Yoonji was quieter, more careful. She worked with artificial intelligence systems that could translate alien languages. She set up her equipment methodically, her hands moving with practiced precision. Dae-sung was the oldest of them, a former military engineer who now worked as a civilian contractor. He had the tired eyes of someone who had seen too much, but his hands were steady as he examined the ship's hull. Dr. Bora arrived last, carrying more scanning equipment than seemed physically possible for one person to transport. She immediately took charge, directing everyone to different sections of the ship. We document everything before we touch anything, she said. This could rewrite everything we know about alien contact with Earth. They spent 2 days mapping the exterior. The ship was bigger than they first thought, extending deep into the ground. The trees growing through it were at least 2,000 years old, which meant the ship had to be even older than that. But the metal showed no signs of decay. Whatever it was made of, it was nearly indestructible. On the third day, Dae-sung found the entrance. It was hidden under a particularly thick patch of moss, a circular doorway that had sealed itself shut millennia ago. He studied it for an hour before declaring he could open it safely. The mechanism is still functional, he said, sounding amazed. After all this time, it still works. They gathered around as Dae-sung carefully activated the opening sequence. There was a soft hiss of air and the door slid open smoothly. Warm air flowed out from inside, carrying a scent that Taman could not quite identify. It smelled like growing things, like fresh earth and flowers. Inside was not what any of them expected. Instead of cold metal corridors and blinking machines, they found a garden. Real plants grew in carefully arranged beds. Water trickled through small channels carved into the floor. The ceiling glowed with soft light that felt like natural sunlight. The ship was not just a vehicle. It was a living space designed to sustain life for years, maybe centuries. It is a garden ship, Yoonji whispered. I have read about these in theoretical studies, but I never thought they actually existed. They moved carefully through the corridors, documenting everything. The plants were strange but beautiful, unlike anything in Earth's databases. Some of them seemed to reach toward the team as they passed, their leaves trembling slightly. Hyunwoo was taking samples, his hands shaking with excitement. The central chamber was at the heart of the ship. It was a large circular room with walls that seemed to be made of crystal. In the center stood a pod, large enough to hold a person, and next to it was a sphere about the size of a basketball, suspended in mid-air by some invisible force. The sphere pulsed with a soft blue light. That is a data core, Yoonji said. An information storage device. And it is still active. As they approached, the sphere began to glow brighter. The light spread across the walls, forming patterns and symbols. Then it projected an image into the air above it, a star map. Taemin recognized Earth at the center, but there were lines connecting it to hundreds, maybe thousands of other stars. A network of some kind, vast beyond comprehension. A voice began to speak. The words were alien, flowing, and musical, but Yoonji's translation program caught fragments. Most of it was garbled, but one phrase came through clearly, translated into Korean on all their screens. The inheritors will return. The room fell silent. Taemin stared at the star map, at Earth glowing at the center of this ancient network. Whatever this ship was, whatever message it carried, it was meant for humanity. The question was why? Why was this here? Why now? And who were the inheritors? Outside, storm clouds were gathering over the forest. Inside the ship, the data core continued to pulse, its light growing stronger with each passing moment, as if it had been waiting for thousands of years for someone to finally find it. Taemin looked at the stasis pod and wondered what else they were about to discover. Unji's face went pale. Oh no, she whispered. She started typing frantically on her console. I found something else in the data. A historical record. The architects left behind other ships like this one, scattered across the galaxy on different worlds. Ships meant to reveal the truth to each species when they were ready. And, Dr. Bora prompted. The Union found them centuries ago, Yunji said quietly. The records show that at least 15 other ships were discovered by various Union species, and every single one was classified as top secret and sealed away. The Union's governing council has known about the architects for a long time. They have been hiding it. Before anyone could respond, Taiman's personal communicator buzzed. It was an encrypted message from an unknown source. His hands felt cold as he opened it. The message was short. Your sister Hana found architect artifacts on Mars. That is why she died. It was not an accident. They will come for this ship too. Trust no one in the Union. Protect the data. Taiman's vision blurred. Hana. His sister had died because she found something like this. Someone had killed her to keep the secret. Rage and grief washed over him in equal measures. He showed the message to the others. This changes everything, Daesung said grimly. If the Union has been suppressing this information, they will not want it to become public now. They will come for us. We should still contact our government, Hyunwoo argued. We are scientists, not soldiers. We cannot fight the Galactic Union. We cannot trust that Earth's government would not hand everything over to the Union, Taiman said. They want to maintain good relations. They would sacrifice us to keep the peace. They argued for an hour, voices rising and falling in the crystal chamber. Finally, Dr. Bora held up her hand. We need more time to decide. Let me make some inquiries through back channels. I have contacts who might know more about this. But time was the one thing they did not have. That night, as Taimin tried to sleep in his tent outside the ship, an alert came through on all their communicators simultaneously. Ships had appeared in Earth's orbit. Galactic Union vessels. A delegation was coming to investigate the discovery. They would arrive at the forest site in 48 hours. Taiman lay awake, staring at the ceiling of his tent. Somewhere above, alien ships were positioning themselves around his world. Somewhere in the forest, an ancient message was waiting to change everything. And somewhere in his memories, his sister Hana smiled at him, full of life and hope, not knowing that her curiosity would lead to her death. He had 2 days to decide what to do. 2 days to figure out how to honor his sister's memory and protect the truth she had died for. 2 days before the Union arrived to bury the secret once again. The data core pulsed in the darkness of the ship, keeping its vigil, waiting to see what humanity would choose.